So I don't even know how to start this. The truth of the matter is that there are people who are consistent in masking who they really are with Christianity, with faith, with religion, and they use it as a cover. The question is why? Why do you use it as a cover? Why do we hide behind this mask? And why do we feel that holier than thou is the way? In this particular episode, you're going to watch us walk through a really tough conversation when it comes to true personal development, the truth of the matter of what's happening all across the globe, and why there are people who are determined to use this mask to hide all of the things, and they are destroying families, they are destroying relationships, they are crashing businesses, they are crashing children, they are a train wreck as far as I'm concerned. And as tough as this episode is going to be, it is the absolute truth of a person who has walked through ministry, who has been baptized, saved, spoken in tongues, and all of the above. And what's real is that you're not ready. Here we go.
Hey you, welcome to Build the Damn Thing, a place where myself, Tiffany Largy, and our amazing Do the Damn Thing coaches show you how to use your story to build it all. Whether it's your first 6 figures, your next layer of multiple 6 figures, or maybe you're on your way to a milli. And if it's not that, it's the life of your dreams, where you are free, you are strong, and you are whole. First, we're going to show you how to use your story to build a strong foundation. And then next, we're going to show you how to use your story in sales and marketing to clean up the cracks. And last but not least, we're going to show you how to use your story to gather people. Because the truth of the matter is that there's nothing stronger than being connected to people who just understand you as you are, where you are, so you can stop explaining yourself. I want to remind you that now that you're here, you are home, and I officially welcome you to our family. All right, let's get started.
There's faith, there's belief, there's the willingness for us to be honest with ourselves and everybody else around us. Matt Gill, take us to the place of what true faith is. Take me through, why is it that in Usherland, in Christianville, we have a myriad of people who feel that this mask or there is a need to uphold or to run to religion as the answer for all the problems that they're ignoring in their life. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I think that one of the biggest things that I know in my journey and that I'm realizing is the difference between spirituality and religion.
Yes, say that.
Like there's two different things. And actually, the more that I'm researching and looking at both science and religion and the Bible and spirituality and what it shows or what it says, it really truly is the same thing of ultimate power.
Say more.
Of something that we believe in, whether it be a spirit, whether it be the universe, whether it's this higher power, this energy source, there's something greater than us. There's something bigger that's up there. And religion creates this control. Like for me, what I'm realizing is that there's the control that they get to the rules. You have to live this way or this is going to happen to you. If you don't follow, like I started to ask my question like this, what about people that live in this like remote place in the world on an island that they've never even heard of Christianity? Christianity says that if you don't believe in God and you don't accept him as your personal Lord and Savior, that you're going to hell.
Yeah, and in the same breath, but this is how you accept him. You have to dress like this. You cannot have this piercing. You cannot be marked by the beast and.
Right. But what happens to those people who never have ever been exposed to them or would not? So did God create them to live in a space and to be persecuted and go to hell?
Well, I think the real question here is why is it that there are so many people in personal development that feel that they have the ability to take this right hand second arm called either faith, I'm gonna also say Christianity, or any type of very specific doctrine filled
organized religion
and use it as it's a scapegoat. That's the word. It's not even a mask. The word is scapegoat. It's a scapegoat for their behavior. It's a scapegoat for where they're falling short. It's a scapegoat for why they won't deal with issues. And then even we were talking about I won't say people in our community, but people that we have met
That we've
along
known,
the
that we know,
way,
yeah.
and how they control the environments around them, the people around them, until the point where they are destroying everything in their path. And then they're the same person going, why isn't this working?
Right.
I've gone to all the trainings.
Or they're the ones that say, let's just pray on it. Let's just pray on it.
For the love of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
Like I realize that the let's just pray on it is actually the excuse. It's the excuse to stay stuck. It's the excuse to be like, I'm just gonna wait.
I feel like we need a moment of silence for that. I feel like we need a moment of silence for that.
But it's the truth, though. If you think about it,
Right.
it gives you the reason, like, oh, okay, and I'm being faithful. So now I'm doing what's right.
I am, because I have a book that says that I got this checkbox done.
Exactly.
I'm doing the work.
Exactly. And so I can just be here because I need to have the answers. I'm waiting for God to give me the answers. But yet you're going to do all this other stuff to distract you so that you don't even pay attention to when God is talking to you. And the truth is, God's been talking to you. God's been giving you the answers. You just haven't been listening.
You haven't been listening because you don't want to listen, because the truth of the matter is that you're actually just interested in listening to your damn self.
Yes.
That is the truth.
Yes.
I feel like, one of the toughest places for me was walking into personal development and watching how many people created this subcategory called like personal development, the God's kingdom's way, right? Right. And then it goes down this path of, no, but I'm doing it God's way, and in God's way, because God wants us all to be wealthy and God wants us all to be XYZ. But the truth of the matter is that I find that in these subcategory pockets, there are people who are more lost. Is that the right? Like, they're more lost than the people who are not labeling themselves in this way. Do you feel like people label themselves? I feel like people label themselves in this way because it allows them to elevate themselves above. They feel like they're in an elevated conversation.
I think that's part of it. I think we feel like we have to label ourselves so that we feel a part of something. Humanity needs to feel connected.
Hold on. So you're saying that they label themselves, well, but are they connected, or are they connected to the other people who have the faith, or are they connected to the people and they're above the other people?
So eventually it does get to that. And
like,
that's where the ego comes in. Like my religion is better than your religion. I've got it right, you've got it wrong.
There's this reality check that I have when I see there are people, I hate calling them my peers, because my peers makes it feel like we're all in the same category, and we're not. We are not in the same department. We are not in the same category. I don't know where the hell y'all are, but they get on stage, they showcase in their event or as a keynote speaker, and then they're like, oh, I've accomplished all these things, and then they paint this picture for the audience that they have created it because they are holier, they have favor, they are anointed, and that the person who is watching lacks that discipline or doctrine following or whatever it might be. And this is why you're not a millionaire maker or whatever else of these names. And I feel like it is the most toughest place ever, because I'm like, I feel like that was God calling.
It's my dad. It really was.
So let me ask you this. How does a person navigate? Because the reason why we decided to sit down and talk about this, because number one, if you are a victim, and I mean living in a home, have a parent, a peer, a mentor, a coach, a sister or a brother who, they don't live in usher land, but they live in holier than land. And they're constantly making you feel like you're inadequate, or you're less than because you're not as holy or as sanctified or as God-filled or as doctrine-following. We want this to be a rescue mission start for you.
Right.
That is the truth, because nothing is worse than feeling like you're on the right path only to have someone who's using an invisible card called heaven and things that are intangible to beat you down or to make you feel like you're doing it wrong. Because 9 out of 9 times, I find that the person is doing it perfectly right. They are doing it perfectly right for them.
Right.
It doesn't fit into the mold of what's around them. It doesn't fit into the mold of what they've been taught or their, race or religion or culture, but it's not supposed to be.
Right.
That is why each and every person is given the word to interpret as they see fit, but more importantly, what feels right for them, because at the end of the day, all of the books were written by a man.
Yep.
That is
and then reinterpreted, and then goes to a different part of the world, and then reinterpreted again, and then so by the time we get a version, it's been changed based on what somebody else some man wanted us to believe, based on exactly. The truth is that we were all created equally, and one of my favorite lessons that I teach is a Coke demo, and it shows that no matter who we are. So think of a child between the ages of 0 and 4. Think of the positive, powerful qualities about them. They're trusting to a fault. Like they'll walk up to a stranger and hold their hands. And and what do? We're the ones like, don't talk to strangers. Don't do it. Like we teach them something different.
Yep.
They're trusting. They're courageous. They're brave. They're going to jump at something. And if they want something, they're going to go get it, regardless of whether it's dangerous. We teach them, no, don't do that. It's not safe.
Yeah.
We instill fear in them. We teach them, no, you can't do that. As a child between the ages of 0 and 4. 0 and 7 is when they're absorbing all this information, and we're teaching them no. We're teaching them you can't. No, we're teaching them all of this stuff. Now, some of it,
an interesting perspective.
Some of it is for their own safety.
Yeah, for sure.
But also,
half of it is just we're imparting our insecurities on them.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Or what we don't want to teach them at the moment because it's inconvenient. Because I've got all these other kids that I'm raising.
Or it's uncomfortable.
Correct.
Or it doesn't fit into my agenda. Or I don't have the time for it. Or I'm tired. Or I'm lazy.
So if you think back of all of these children,
you're lazy. I just want to repeat that. I don't want to get lost.
We need like the visual lazy, like right across the page.
Yes.
But if you think about a child between the 0 and 4, and you think about those qualities of trusting, courageous, they're determined. Yeah. They don't take no for an answer. They're curious. They're playful. They'll go out and dance in the street and not care.
Yeah.
Now, if we think about those qualities, we're not thinking about the same child.
No.
So is it fair to say that we all came with those exact same qualities?
Yes, we did.
But what happens is life happens. People talk to us. There's things that are said to us, that are done to us. You're not good enough. I used to get told that I talk too much in school. Guess what? I would love to go back to my teachers and say, ha, 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 I get paid to talk now. Like, I want to go back to them and be like, look, this is who I am.
And that's who I was, though.
Yes.
I was that person.
Always.
And, I really like the fact that you brought that here, because the truth is that you were like that. Imagine that you hadn't found the willingness or the freedom or the courage to acknowledge who you actually had been from the beginning.
Right. At
some point during your journey. And you were like, listen, people, this is who I am. Let me just put it in front of y'all.
Right.
And you did it in a very public way. You took it to the stage. Take it to the stage, right?
Right.
But what's real is the person who went, oh, you're right. And then from age 7 to 16, quiet. 16 to 27, they were muted.
Right.
30 to 47, they allowed things to happen. And then they get involved in a holier than land. And now they have people who are telling them they are destined for hell and will never, ever, ever, ever. And then they're like, well, Flip, I had to live this life like this. And I'm going to be afraid of what the next life will be. Let me just shut the hell up for the next 37 years so that hopefully life is better at the other place
right.
than it was here.
But see, the truth is that our
that is
true
some BS if I ever heard of it.
Our true self doesn't go anywhere. The curiosity, the determination, the trust, all of that is there. It's just blocked. It's blocked from all of the things that have been said to us and done to us. And then we commit what I think is actually one of the biggest crimes. We turn, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not this, into, I'm not good enough.
Yep.
I'm not smart enough. I can't do that. And so now we've added another layer of crap on top of all of the stories, all of the things that have been sent to us. So even when we think about self-esteem, our self-esteem doesn't go anywhere. We just have blocked access to it.
I feel like after it gets blocked, though, I feel like it becomes hidden.
No.
I feel like it becomes hidden from ourselves.
I don't think we do, but we don't want people to see it. So we begin to wear masks. We begin to wear things that are shiny, or I'm going to be happy all the time, or I'm going to be the joke. Yes. And so we begin to hide it. Maybe we do. Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be the funny one.
So listen, he's giving you a list right now for people around you. Like, this is really easy. Take a moment right now and think about people who you've hung out with in the last 10 days, the last 10 weeks. The person who was like excessively, I don't want to say loud, but they had to be, ... They were constantly cracking jokes.
Right.
They're like wearing this bright, shiny jacket because they're like, oh, it describes me, identifies me.
Or they're going to be the person that's like, I got it. Like, I've got all of this. I'm under control. I don't need any help. I've got this.
Help. I'm good. Think about that person. That is a visual identity for a mask.
Those are all the things that the way that we mask whatever we don't want to face.
Whatever we don't want to face. Nothing is more dangerous to me. I know I'm going to get heat for this. But nothing is more dangerous to me than the Christians wearing the thickest masks. Because they are the people who don't want to face it. And then they get to hide behind a big wall called religion. And religion. And then they call it relationship, but they have zero relationship. Because it's like, you can't have an awesome relationship with God or with Jesus, and then you don't have it. You have a blank relationship with the people in your house.
Right.
Like, that's an impossible equation.
Right.
No one's ever going to tell me different. Every single time, I'm going to tell you right now, every single time I meet a woman who's like, oh, well, I just prayed about it. You know what, Tiffany? Give me a few minutes. I'm going to go pray about it. You know what? I'm just going to let the people do it because they don't understand, but God understands. No, you don't understand. That's why you have a problem.
But see, that's also deflecting. So blame is saying going through and being like, well, I'm going to let God handle that. That's just going through and saying, you know what? I'm giving my power over to somebody else, but God gave you the power to make the decision. Because if God wanted you to make the decision, he would have done it already for you.
Deflecting.
I'm telling you, it's the easy way out.
It is easy because you can put it on someone that you cannot see.
There's no accountability.
There's no quantify. And then more importantly, every color and respectively, every person on the planet, and I say most people on the planet, they are all afraid of the unknown. They are all in a place of uncertainty. If you're not afraid, you're in an uncertain place. So as soon as we're like, oh, God or heaven or hell or something that we cannot touch and feel in this human flesh, no matter who, I know there's someone who's like, oh no, but I went to hell and heaven and came back already. It doesn't change the fact that the second that you get to deflect, like you're saying, that it's a scapegoat and you get to escape. And so you begin to make it a habit.
Right.
So then, like, if you're a person, you're in a marriage and listen to the woman. I am a woman. So to the woman who has constantly said to her husband or to her partner, oh, well, you're not enough. And then you don't say it in words, you say it in actions. But then you show up at church and you pray to God for a better man. And you pray to God for a better outcome. And you pray to God for the situation to change. But you won't acknowledge the fact that you are the controlling, doctrine-filled, religious person creating all of the havoc in your home and preventing your family from healing. And your children are trapped and they can't say anything. And your marriage is not in trouble. It has been done and you won't acknowledge it because you can't get divorced.
Because for better or for worse, and we're going to ride this through and we're going to pretend that our life is so happy. But guess what?
Yes.
You're living a lie. Yes. And what is God? And you're living a lie.
You are
so
living, which makes you a liar.
Correct.
I want us to pause here.
You're like, yes.
Yeah, it's the truth. You're living a lie and it makes you a whole liar. You're actually a walking liar. And to the person who was like, oh my gosh, that is my such and such, they are a liar.
And they're teaching others how to lie.
And they're showing their children and the people in the community.
Exactly.
And then they create this habit. And all of you women who show up at the Bible study on Tuesday, and then all of y'all are sharing the same doctrine, hiding in the same way, doing the same thing.
And then talking about each other in the kitchen while somebody else, oh, did you see? Oh, did you hear what? Like the truth is, like we become, God, what's the word I'm looking for?
Comfortable?
No. It's like sensuous, or like in the story, they feed off of the lies.
Yeah.
They feed off of the energy of like,
because
I'm looking the good.
I'm not like that.
Correct.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
There's and I can't think of the word.
Like they feed off of it because it allows them to confirm their behavior.
Correct.
And it validates this place, and they're like, oh, I'm not like that. I don't do that.
Exactly.
For sure. And that's ridiculous, and it's dumb, and it's stupid, and
Stop
it's dangerous.
Lying.
It is. It's very dangerous. In the space of growing and being whole and honest with oneself, for the person who says right now, well, you know what, God's going to take care of it, I'm going to say, God, yes, God absolutely will come and take care of it. But consider that he already has by giving you wisdom and this moment of truth and the ability to listen to this podcast, to this episode, to this moment where we have just told you that it's not okay. You have to stop, or you have to be the one to stop them. Life is too short for anything else. And you can't be whole in one area and in shambles in everywhere else. It's an impossible equation.
Again. Yep.
You can't be whole in one area. It's like every time I have on my journey, I remember thinking to myself, I was in a marriage and my kids were really little and I was abused all the time. It was just a tough place to be mentally and emotionally because I was in a dichotomy that I couldn't win. Every time I went to church, I found myself praying harder and trying to get closer to the other women who were older, because in my mind they were older. They had been married. They were, you know, like
they had the
knew,
wisdom. They had the experience
for sure. And I was already a sinner because I had kids young, and the story goes on and on. But I was still trying to fit in. You know what I mean? Like the sinner was still trying to go in outside and not the complete back pew.
You tried wearing Crocs at one time.
No,
it was like,
we're not going to do that. I didn't say I was on my way to hell. You know, I'm not going to do that either. So the truth of the matter is that I remember this very specific chapter of my life. And I'm like, this is a crazy cycle because every 5 days I'm in tears or I'm just upset. I'm more angry with God. I'm angry with God. I'm like, why am I in this situation? Why can't I get out? Every time I try to make a move, I hear someone with a Bible telling me that I needed to stick this thing out. Then I stopped going to like my church and no BS. I started going to like neighboring churches and I like you know, the churches you drive in, like that's a big church. So it's established. There are good people there. There were 3 by my house off of this place in Flamingo Road in Broward County. And I stop in this church, I start going, and then like, let's say the pastor says, you know, I like if you ever need to talk, one of them kind of things. And I'm like, this motherfucker, I can come talk to him. Great. Right. So I make an appointment. Somehow I'm in his office like on a Tuesday. I'm bearing my soul to this pastor who is literally 2 streets from my house, who looked like holier than thou. And he was young. He wasn't one of these old white guys with white hair who was like who I felt was super disconnected from what I was going through. And all I know is that he sat and told me that I wasn't praying hard enough. And I remember him telling me that the problem was me. And I remember thinking to myself, man, you're saying that I'm going through said situation because I am not holy enough? Holy Mother of Johnson. So you know what that did for me? I went back home and I remember doubling down on prayer and fasting and all of these kind of practices that weren't about clearing my mind, but it was about me doing the ritual behavior that the other person or the pastor told me would get me to my win. The truth of the matter is that it probably took me 3 or 4 times going to different pastors and women as they all beated me down spiritually, telling me that I was the problem. And you know, as I've gotten older, now mind you, how did I get out of this space? No pastor saved me. No altar call saved me. No re-anointing of putting the thing on my head saved me. I done took the cracker and the juice. Like, you understand? Like, I was listen,
like, what do I need to do? Check.
The service at 9, 10, 30, and 12. There was going to 3 services. You get it?
Right.
Like, I needed to do it 3 times. It was that serious. It was me reading Jeremiah 29:13. And it was such a mind-blowing, like, moment. Because I was like, shit. What are we talking about? I know the plans that I have for you, plans of prosperity. You want me to be happy? I will never figure out going to like a woman's thing. And I was like, it says right here, he wants me to be happy. This shit is not happy. Then you know what I understood as I've gotten older? Sure. But as I've now taught hundreds of thousands of people around the world, is that those people were convicted in their own lives by what wasn't happening. And I am so clear because I have now heard the stories that I'm like, I get it. It was happening in your home.
Right.
You weren't the holy person. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were falling short. Sure. No, you were suffering in the same way, or you were the one causing the suffering.
And that suffering is actually what people don't talk enough about.
They don't talk at all
because
about.
They're living in the shame, they're living in the guilt, and because they have been putting
Trained.
out this facade for so long of we're the perfect family. We're doing like I remember even growing up like almost being coached as to what we could say, what we could talk about. What happens in the home stays in the home.
Say that.
And so when we had to show up at family functions, it was like everything's great. Nobody's fighting. Like everything is just perfect. We had a facade that we had to live under.
You had to keep it up.
Yes.
And you had to maintain it.
But then, and that goes in all aspects of life.
Yeah, for sure.
And what happens is we're all walking around with all these different facades that we don't even recognize when we get to see the real you.
Which is the power of story.
Right. Yes.
What's so real for me at this moment is I know that if you've gotten this far, you have to have said to yourself at some moment, I think these people are talking to me. There is a place called Usherland that we talk about all the time, in which there are great people who get consumed in. But as I walk through this, I realize that the other coin of that are the people who are doing the consumption.
Mm.
I'm specifically speaking to the people who are doing the consumption.
Mm-hmm.
And you may not be doing it in church, but you may be doing it in your home, where you are looking at a person and you're saying to you're talking down to your husband or your wife and making them feel useful only for what they can give you, and where you feel like they're applicable to what you want in your life,
right,
the way you want it to be, and then you berate them. I don't even know if that's the right berate. That's a hood word from Miami. I don't know if that's valid, but you
degrade.
Berate. That's some hood word. I'm so sorry, everybody. Berate.
But and
berate.
You degrade them, you emasculate them. Yes. For women, and that's the biggest thing. Like one of the things that in a recent conversation, we were talking about respect. And what I wasn't hearing, and what I heard actually from this conversation was, I was like, you don't feel respected in your relationship. Your opinion doesn't matter. And on top of that, when you do speak, you feel like you're not being heard.
Oh man, you know what just came to me? Stay with me on this. This is a whole moment. So in that specific conversation, think about it. So if there's a husband and wife, a man and a woman, and you guys are in this relationship together, and he doesn't feel respected, and probably rightfully so, right? I don't know for a fact, but let's just say it's true, that he doesn't feel respected. And when he tries to come to a place with the woman, and this is vice versa, you try to come to the place with the woman and you're like, hey, I don't feel respected, I'm turning to you. And then that woman turns around and turns to God only.
Correct.
Okay, this is, I believe, wholeheartedly the biggest problem in relationships today when it comes to, I can only imagine the hate mail I'm going to get. But like Christian relationships or faith-based relationships, because, and I'm not saying it's bad to turn to God. No, absolutely you should. But when you turn to God and you also don't turn to your spouse.
Correct.
You literally, you alienate them in the feeling, in the moment, in the idea, in the ability to make it stronger. Because what happens is that the woman sits there, she's like, okay, I'm listening to you. I hear you. And she's like, oh, God, please go and deal with such and such and such. Please go and such. Please make it better. Please show him the way. Please show him how to be a godly man. All these things, right? And we turn it over to God, but we actually have a responsibility to turn it over to the other person.
Because you're a partnership.
It's a partnership. It's like, I feel like the woman goes, like the house has been heated. I say the woman like I'm hating on women. Listen, the man does this too. I'm not hating on women.
Right.
I'm speaking from experience.
Right.
She goes and it's like, it's winter. He's heated the house. The house is heated, and now you went and opened the window in the bathroom and left the door open.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? And it's like the air, the warm or hot air that is needed for this moment has been let out. We cannot capture it back. And then we go through a cycle, but this repetition, you know what happens? The person gets tired of turning on the heat.
Right.
And then they're like, fuck it, I'm going to sit in this bitch cold. Literally, they're like, I got a sweater.
The thing about relationship is even the word relay, it's a relay, it's a back and forth.
For sure.
And the moment that there's not a back and forth, you're not in a relationship.
Correct.
Just as you have a relationship with God, it's a conversation. It's back and forth. I'm praying, I'm listening. I'm praying, I'm listening. It's a relay. There's a spiritual relationship that you have. In a partnership, there needs to be a back and forth.
Correct.
And that's where I think a lot of people go wrong. And that's the first thing that I run to is, are you in a relationship? Is it a back and forth? Doesn't always mean that you're going to give equally. At some point, one's going to be giving more than the other.
But I have to clarify something, because it's a relationship and there's a back and forth. But if one of the people turn and they're turning that emotional attention outward somewhere else,
then you're not in a relationship.
Correct. And that's one of the hardest lessons I had to learn myself in my own relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you turn around and take a moment of that relay out of its relay, then it can't get stronger. It can't get better. It can't get improved. And you might be the person who is constantly breaking it and making it weak. So you're starting over.
Right.
Yeah, you've been married for 15 years, or you've been best friends for 15 years, or you've
in each other's spaces.
Yeah, for 15 years.
Right.
But if you keep breaking it, then you're the problem.
Yes.
The end.
I was going to be like, yep, you're right.
We're done.
Yep.
We're done. So listen here, the 3 takeaways that I really want you to take, that I really want to make sure you've heard this. And we are so grateful that you've spent this time here with us. But I want to emphasize these really important 3 things before we get out of here. Number 1, this is the core. This conversation is so important because it's at the backbone of living a do the damn thing life.
Correct.
Do the damn thing life is a must for every human that exists, because it is the epitome of freedom and living intentionally and living the way you're supposed to live on purpose. It is also the backbone of things like, how do I end up in a relationship that I'm crazy about and can't wait to wake up and go see the person again? And I don't just mean intimate relationship. You could have a best friend like that. That is so exciting, right? The second is, how do I get myself into a place where I'm hanging out with people on a regular basis and I feel good with them and they make me feel good? The third here is, how do I make some dough? How do I make some money? How do I put money in my account? How do I stop being broke? Or how do I make more money so I can do more things? The fourth is, how do I get out of this cycle of just not physically feeling well?
Right.
A do the damn thing life is a must for every human. And this conversation was so important because there is a repetitive, habitual thing that I have talked with Matt about a bazillion times in the mass that we see as people enter into the do the damn thing community, as people come closer to us, especially those of faith. Right. And then they're hiding so far behind the mask that we're not even interested in them, even though they have a ton of potential, but they can't see themselves at all.
They're not willing to.
They're not willing to.
It's not that they can't, it's that they're not willing to see the truth.
Correct. So they're not willing to, so therefore at this moment, they're unable to see it. The last is because I said to myself, how do I begin this really slow conversation with you to ask you to come and spend time with us in person? I don't know where you are right now. And I don't even know what the next step is, but I know one thing's for sure. Your do the damn thing life is like right around the corner and you don't even realize it. Imagine what could happen if you made a decision to go check out our site, go look at dtdtevent.com, and you said, okay, let me just see what these jokers are getting together next, because they're at some way, shape, form, figure, we are getting together next always, whether it's in night school for 7 days, or you're coming and flying into a city where we're going to embrace you, high five you, some of you will booty bump you. And the truth is that we have this really dope roadmap for building your do the damn thing life, starting with you walking into your story, your actual story, your whole story. The whole damn thing, beginning, middle, and end. In this 3.5 day experience, just imagine what could happen if you took a chance, you said yes, and you finally found you. Can you imagine living the rest of this life and not actually having yourself? And then allowing all of this potential that you have going to the grave? Like, I really don't want that to happen for anybody. That is my greatest fear for every human that walks, is that the potential that they have inside of them heads into the grave, and they live a mass life, and they live a mass life that's not what they were supposed to be doing while they were here, and everybody around them is suffering, whether they tell you or not. Somewhere here is an opportunity for you to say yes. The question is, what decision are you going to make? What is your next do the damn thing moment? What are you going to build? You might be building a roadmap to head to the next event. You might be building the willingness to go and have a conversation with your spouse. Maybe it's time for you to jump churches. If not that, it's like you got to get your health together. All I know is that this is a moment of you looking in the mirror, asking yourself a better question and making a decision. Damn it, please make a decision. Life is too damn short. I love you. I'm so grateful we've had this time together. And sweet Jesus, we'll see you soon.
I hope that episode was a